Good afternoon and welcome to this second webinar
Possiamo cominciare, buon pomeriggio, benvenuti a questo secondo webinar.
Organized by the Polenta Biosphere Reserve. I'm Mattia Mascanzoni, I work with the Polenta Regional Park and Polenta Biosphere Reserve, and here with us in this evening webinars we have Massimiliano Costa from the Polenta Biosphere Reserve, Vanessa Palacios from the Monfrague Biosphere Reserve, and Michael Serunda from the Lower Saxon Bodensee Biosphere Reserve. Today we will talk about how birdwatching can be a sustainable tool for to develop sustainable tourism. And then, so I go to Massimiliano Costa to start with this presentation, and we try to understand how the Polenta is working on this theme. To share your screen.
One sec. Oops.
No. Okay, perfect.
Can you see it well, Mattia?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, one sec. Buonasera a tutti. Thank you so much for choosing being here this afternoon. My name is Vanessa, and I work for the Extremadura Tourist Board. And I would like to introduce myself because so we can all know where I'm based and what I do. Basically, I'm going to try to be very brief. I would love to speak Italian, hopefully sometime in life soon, but I will try to do my best in English and I'll try to be brief also. As I said, I work for the Extremadura Tourist Board, which depends on the government of Extremadura. So it's a body and an area within the Extremadura's government. And together with my colleagues who work for some other kinds and types of tourist activities. In my case, I only do wildlife, especially birdwatching. Oh, sorry. One second. Oh, sorry about that. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you just confirm you see? Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to take you through what we do in Extremadura. I would like to talk in my talk about the natural resource we work with, plus also how we've been doing throughout years, since 2012, since we created the Birding in Extremadura Club, and also how the birding activity has been working in the region. Just for you to have an idea. One second, I'm trying to, it goes a little bit slower. That's the location of Extremadura on the map, just for you to know. So we are talking about a region located in southwest Spain, as you can see on the slide, in between Madrid and Seville, and bordering Portugal to the west. So you can access to Extremadura through 3 different international airports, that be Lisbon, Madrid, or Seville. So most people, when they come to Extremadura, they come via Madrid or Seville or Lisbon, and they rent a car and they drive into the region. And we are talking about about 3-hour drive, more or less, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, depending on what part of the region you are visiting and you're entering in. For you to have an idea, we are talking about an area as large or as big as Holland, but we are only 1 million people population living in the region. I'm going to show you and share with you some slides where you can see the landscape of the region and the kind and the types of habitats you can find in the region when you visit it. We talk about also a land with, as you can imagine, being 1 million, over 1 million people, but not many, 1,100,000. We talk the population density is very low. So the industrialization of the region is very low. Therefore, obviously, the conservation of the habitats is very good. The variety of habitats is also very good, in a very good status. And that is one of the reasons why you can find in this part of Spain a great variety of birds to watch. And during many years, we've been in contact with people in the region, visitors, tourists, who've been coming to Extremadura to watch birds. And we are talking over 30 years ago, and probably some of us being based in this part of Spain, we didn't even know at that time that there were people interested in the wildlife of Extremadura. So we'll talk briefly about the natural resource. And I would like to start with this because I understand, and we say all the time that without the conservation status and also the natural resource and the nature and wildlife and the status of all of it that we have in Extremadura nowadays, it would be impossible to do what we've been doing throughout all this time. And also, apart obviously of the resources, one important thing and one of the very, very important and must tool that we have in Extremadura have been the people being in the region who some time ago decided to become specialists in wildlife activities and birding. And I'm talking about local companies. And without those local companies, the activity would have been impossible to sustain or to maintain. So I'll show you some habitats and some landscapes of Extremadura. So as I was saying, you can see very vast areas. The one you're seeing on this slide now is what we call dehesa. So it's a man-made habitat, and it's a sustainable habitat, and it's very characteristic and very, very, very special of this area and this part of the Iberian Peninsula. It's a habitat we also share with Portugal. It's formed by oak trees and cork trees. I'm sure you know you've seen it before, but there is plenty of space like this in Extremadura. Some other habitats we go through, obviously from dehesas and Mediterranean forest to hills and mountains and rocky areas, very safe for birds to breed. And all that is combined, and it's got to be combined and to live together with the activities that are already happening in the region. And we've got to be able and to make possible to have these activities working together, because obviously when we are talking about protected areas and we would like to protect areas, we have to think of those people and the people who live on those areas and how to make compatible and feasible all the human activity with nature, and also the economy activity that is also obviously important, as bird watching is also. So it's important to see each other equally and take everything into account. So as you see, it's a very rural area, and within Extremadura, there are 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in nature wildlife areas, some other cultural areas as well. I will show you in the next slide. But you see here the 4 biosphere reserves that are in Extremadura. We are talking about Monfrague here today, and there are 3 other more. The latest one is the one called La Siberia, the one you see, the latest one on the slide. But Monfrague was named Biosphere Reserve in 2003. Monfrague is the mecca for birding in Extremadura, is the mecca for large raptors. Massimiliano mentioned people come to Monfrague to watch vultures. Obviously, mainly we're talking about great colonies of griffon vulture and also black vulture. You know, black vulture is one of the highlight species in the region, as well as the Spanish imperial eagle, and is one, obviously, some of the species you can see in Monfrague. But Monfrague has been receiving and welcoming visitors and tourists, bird watchers especially, for a long, long time, as I said, over 30 years. And local people started to learn with those visitors and those tourists coming into the area of Monfrague to watch birds. Monfrague also has some cultural remains, very interesting, like some caves, prehistoric resources as well within the national park and the Biosphere Reserve. We are talking about a national park within the Biosphere Reserve. The Biosphere Reserve is about 116,000 hectares approx. And within that space, we have 18,000 hectares of national park that was named Natural Park previously in 1979. So it's been, and we all have been learning through all those years and trying to make Monfrague the place to watch birds, plus also improve infrastructures and so on. The National Park of Monfrague, one of the things the area offers, and is I think is easy in Monfrague and within Monfrague to watch birds when it comes to enjoy quality observations and also infrastructure wise and tourist services. We are talking about a place where for instance, from 3 or 4 different viewpoints, miradors, we can watch up to 20 to 23 different species of raptors, which is quite good for those people we like watching birds. So, you know, people who like watching birds, you have your wish list, plus also some other species and some other activities you like to join to that. So as well as Monfrague, Extremadura also offers some other cultural World Heritage sites. And I would like to mention these because when we talk about birding or about wildlife, even if you like, in general, we think of fields. We always think wildlife is in the middle of nowhere, and you've got to go to somewhere very, very lost. And I would like to mention that that doesn't happen in Extremadura, and I'm sure it does not happen in some other locations in Europe, and in this case, in your case, in Italy. I visited Delta del Po myself, and I attended the bird fair, and you can see birds all over the place. And I think when you are in a location like that, that's brilliant, because it offers great opportunities to develop and to set up some strategies in order to make the resources and the local companies more visible. So what you see on the slide are some of the city urban locations in Extremadura where you can also enjoy birds. For instance, we'll talk about Cáceres, the one on the left top. Cáceres, for instance, holds a very nice colony of lesser kestrel, a small falcon. For those who probably don't know what it is, it's a small falcon. We have in Extremadura about 19 different colonies of lesser kestrels located in urban areas, and 23 different urban areas in Extremadura are also protected, and 19 of them are protected because of the presence of this little falcon, which is a summer visitor here. It comes in, you have it in Italy as well. You've got brilliant colonies, and we try to promote birding not just in the fields and in the countryside also within the towns you see on the slide that are also cultural heritage sites by UNESCO. This slide is Guadalupe, and also some cultural routes where you can enjoy the combination of birding plus also some cultural resources and historical resources, because I suppose it's important when you, and I do think myself it's very important when we talk about birds, we should talk about the way we live, our culture, why the status of the areas we visit are as they are, and what has been happening through history in the place we are talking about. And when we, in Extremadura, for instance, 74.1% of the territory has been named important bird area by BirdLife International. This is a very high percentage. I don't think there is another place in Spain that's been named with that percentage, and that makes Extremadura a unique place in Spain and probably within Europe, obviously, as well. It's a high percentage, apart from the special areas for the protection of birds. That is also over 26% of the region has been protected like that. The number of species recorded in the region is over, as you see on the slide, 385 recorded species. And the bird you see on the slide is a black vulture. The population of black vulture, even though it was very, very weak and delicate at some time in history, also some conservation projects have been run from Spain, especially from Extremadura, to, for instance, the reintroduction of these species in Catalonia and also the Balkans, for example. The tourist area, or the area of birding within the tourist board, is also very well connected with the conservation bodies of, and entities working in Extremadura for conservation, especially local organizations. And the population of black vulture in Extremadura is about 1,200 breeding birds. So it's growing, and the birds are growing, and it's doing very well. And Spanish Imperial Eagle, another bird that is interesting to watch when you come to this part of the world, is also the number of birds, just to mention before we go on to the next thing, is over 60 birds, so which is not very good. It's good number, and it's still quite good according to what happened in the 60s in the whole Iberian Peninsula. This is one of the landscapes you find in Extremadura. And again, just for you to have an idea about the image and the picture of the region offers 70,000 kilometers of public tracks to go by bike, to do some walking and some trekking, and to have open areas and spaces where you can enjoy and explore nature. But as we're here talking about birding's been one of the highlights, and also the stars and the babies for the Extremadura Tourist Board to look after for many, many years. So some of the birds that are important in Extremadura are the ones I'm going to show you. But what is important, what I would like to mention, is how important, in order to develop the birding and the bird watching activity, we need to study and monitor the resource we are working with. And in order to make sure we contribute to conservation, we increase on the knowledge we are giving to visitors and tourists, and also the materials we are offering in those events, bird fair or some other events, is of good quality. So studied and monitor also gives us the idea about how we are doing with the mammals or birds in this case that we are working with, and it's important to look after them. So those are some of the species and some of the highlights that when people come to Extremadura they like to watch. And here you'll see a golden eagle on the left and a Spanish Imperial Eagle on the right. And we also have great locations in Extremadura to take shots of these birds. And some of the birds can be seen from heights. I mean, they can obviously be watched in the open, but if, as you know, the photography activity is increasing in Europe big time, because everyone is quite active when we talk about photography. And in Extremadura, there is a good range of heights offering these specialized services. Also, another bird that is interesting when you visit Extremadura is the great bustard, and as well white storks. Many people, and what I would like to mention with this slide of the white stork is that sometimes when we are working in a destination or for a destination, we think common birds are not interesting, and common birds are really, really interesting for some people. For us, we're quite used to see, as I mentioned earlier, those little lesser kestrels. We are quite used to see here hoopoes or Iberian magpies, the azure-winged magpie. And for some people in Central Europe, that is a great highlight when they visit this part of Spain. So we are very aware of those things. So if we have to share and to show people a nice colony of white stork breeding on rocks, for instance, we do share those locations also. So we've got to take into account, it's not just about the rarities, but it is as well, but because some birders, they like those endemic plus those specific species, but some other people, they like that plus also any common bird that is common for us, but it's not common for them. So I'll show you some of the species that people are also watching or looking for when they come to Extremadura. And so we, for many years, we've been trying to transform and also change that natural resource, make it visible and to share it with people as a tourist activity. So that is the main thing. So for many years, after knowing and observing and monitoring, plus also studying the people coming to the region, because the government worked on a monitoring essay and did some work in 2011 about the profile of people coming to Extremadura. We did a study in 2011, and that study gave us some data. That is something I would like to mention as well. Working and having data is very important in order to base our strategy and to increase our knowledge about the profile of people, about the status of the resource, and about what we like to do in order to improve everything we want to do. So in 2012, we created the Birding in Extremadura Club. As we learned, most people who were visiting Extremadura, they were doing so independently, not coming in organized tours through travel agencies. Majority of people, they come by themselves, they hire a car in Madrid or Seville or Lisbon, and they visit the region. So we knew we had to focus on the local companies and try to promote them together. So we created the club in 2012. So it's been 10 years since then. And the Birding in Extremadura Club is a voluntary group, as you can see, and you can read on the slide. We have some objectives. We have been working together, private and public sector, since 2012. The club started with 24 partners, public and private partners. And today, the number of partners in the club is over 135, around that number. And the majority of them are private companies, which is very important for us. So we would like to have the weight in that side, in the private sector. Small companies and local companies that basically need support and need to make their activity very visible, because we are 1 million people and we cannot allow ourselves to lose one company or one person to leave the region. It's important for us to be able and to try to make this activity sustainable and to fix population in the rural areas. So what we do, yes.
1 minute.
Thank you. What we do is to set up the strategies and also to plan, to talk about the activity. We have a meeting one a year. We are very well connected with each other. We have, with the birding club, we have improved the communication. We have set at a kite mark. Every partner who joins the club has to pass a criteria, some requirements to be a partner of the club, and they have to pay a fee as well. And we try to promote the kite mark of and the brand name as Birding in Extremadura, and we try to have a quality service equally. So we need to promote that together and to be able to make differences and be competitive and collaborate with other destinations and other locations. So the club is also, as you can see on the slide, worked on the branding, on the kite mark of on the image and of the club. And also we've been working and being involved in different bird fair events or media activities, promotional booklets. We've been going through many, many locations, as you can see on the map, to promote birding in Extremadura. We've been trying to position Extremadura on all those locations. I'll show you some pictures and I'll go through that quickly so you can see the events. We organized the Extremadura Birdwatching Fair, and we started with 123 partners up to today. I updated it today to 135, and we have very quality materials to share with people in different languages, and we also incorporate some other resources like orchids, dragonflies, stamcell flights, and so on. We're very active on social media, and also we've been increasing the number of followers on obviously social media. You've got to be there all the time, as you all know. So for us, our highlight is the Extremadura Bird Fair with over 16,000 visitors and 17th edition, the last weekend of February each year. I would like you to check the website, so I invite you all to have a look at it. It's called FIO, extremadura.es, the website, and you can have all information there. And our challenge, just as the last slide, is to keep improving and to understand what people want when they come to Extremadura in order to be able to provide the best quality service we can. So thank you very, very much for inviting me to share this information with you. And if anyone would like to have some questions, I'll be around to answer them. Thank you so much. Grazie.
Thanks, Vanessa. Yes, I remind to participants that can write a question in the chat or in the Q&A section of Zoom, so don't worry, then we read it to the relators. Now, Brun, I think you can share your screen directly. We go to Brun Michaelis from the Lower Saxon Bodensee Biosphere Reserve in the north of Germany. And I give you the floor.
Okay, so I hope you can see my slides.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, buonasera a tutti and grazie per l'invito. And before I confuse the translator, I will continue in English. And my name is Brun Michaelis, and I work at the National Park Authority in the Lower Saxon Bodensee. And I'm responsible to organize the so-called Zugvogeltage in the Lower Bodensee, Saxon Bodensee. So please say it out loud, Zugvogeltage. This is a German term for migratory bird days. And yeah, I would like to give you information on our bird watching event, but first on the area that is the focus on of the Bodensee. So here you can see a picture of the 8 major migratory bird flyways that we have in the world. And in the center, so the yellow area in the center, this is a so-called East Atlantic Flyway. And this East Atlantic Flyway connects the Arctic breeding grounds and the African, mostly the Western African, but also up to the South Africa, wintering grounds. So here, this area is the area of importance for this talk. And let's have a closer look. So let's zoom in, and here you can see Germany and Italy and some other countries. The Po Biosphere Delta is in the red circle in the south, and the half moon is the UNESCO Wadden World Heritage Site that I will present you now. So here we have a closer look on the Wadden area. The Wadden area is at the coast of the Netherlands, of Germany, and of Denmark. It spans an area of approximately 10,000 square kilometers, and it has a coastline of around 500 kilometers. The Dutch and German parts of the Wadden Sea were inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2009. The Danish part was added in 2014. So the Wadden Sea of the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark is a key stopover area for up to 12 million water birds each year. In spring, they arrive from their wintering grounds to rest and feed on organisms that live in the Wadden Sea, for example, mussels, crabs, or marine snails, to gain energy and to rest. After a couple of weeks, they continue flying to their high Arctic breeding grounds, e.g. in Siberia. And for this, they need a lot of energy because most of them fly non-stop for a couple of days, 5,000 kilometers. And I think you can imagine how much energy you would need to make such a long journey. In autumn, when they finish their breeding season, they come back. And of course, they need to stop and to refill again. And this is again the area where they come to the Wadden Sea. And here they continue their flight then to the wintering grounds. The Wadden Sea area is also a landscape of outstanding universal value. It is a site of ongoing geological processes, so the very high dynamic. It is a site of ongoing ecological processes, and it is a hotspot of biodiversity. And that is the main reason why it's inscribed as a World Heritage Site. I would like to demonstrate you some images of our area. You can see here different habitats. For example, this is a small island, Mehmet. This is non-inhabited, but you can see the beautiful colors of different habitats. For example, the Intertidal Zone, the beach, and the salt marsh. The next image is the island of Norderney. So here you can see the dynamics, so the geological processes that occur. For example, the dynamics of the dunes that you can see in the center. So this is very, very impressive, and I can really invite you to come to visit our place. But the most important thing, or the most important area, the most important place is the so-called mudflat. This is the Intertidal Zone, and this is an economic term for the Wadden Sea region. The Wadden Sea consists out of different sediments, like for example, sand or mud, and twice a day, the mudflat falls dry, and twice a day, it is flooded again. And this makes it so important, because when the Wadden Sea is dry, so birds can achieve it, then millions of water birds come to find the food. And so they rest on the Wadden Sea, they walk around, find the food, and they rest. As I said, we have millions of water birds, up to 10 million migratory birds per year that come on their long journeys between the Arctic and Africa. And in total, we have observed 400 species, and you can easily observe 300 species each year. 30 of them are breeding species, around 40 species the Wadden Sea is for around 40 species of international significance. So this highlights the importance of the Wadden Sea area. You can also see dunlins, you can see common ringed plovers. So it is very impressive what kind of birds you can see here, and it's very, very beautiful to observe them in the different landscapes. You can also see geese, for example, the barnacle goose here seen on the picture, that especially comes in the winter time and feeds on the grasslands. And yeah, the first question is, can birds be found in the Wadden Sea area? And there's a clearly yes. And this is the first step if you want to go organize a bird watching event. But who should do it? Because you need competent partners at your site to organize a bird watching event. And so I would like to zoom further into the Wadensee area, and now especially into the German part. The German part consists of 3 states. It's the Lower Saxon, it's Hamburg, and the Schleswig-Holstein area. But the main focus for now is the Lower Saxon Wadensee National Park and also the Biosphere Reserve. Here on this map, you can see the different zones. In the northern part, you can see the North Sea, and the Lower Saxon Wadensee National Park was established in 1986, and it's of course a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it has a size of 345,000 hectares. And if you count all the overnight stays, we have more than 20 million guests. So it's highly frequently used by the tourists and other guests. We have different zones in the area. So the most important one is the core zone, because here, this is a strictly protected quiet zone where natural developments are allowed to occur. So, and this is the main motto, let nature be nature. And this is one of the best areas where you can observe birds, but you are only allowed to walk on the paths that are designated. And yeah, the second one is the so-called buffer zone. This buffer zone can be entered throughout the year, but also please be on the main path. And then there is the transition zone or transition area. As you can see here, there are 12 yellow areas, and these are newly applied regions for the Biosphere Reserve. And in the transition zone, the main goal is that we establish a sustainable economic and human activity together with the people that live there. And of course, there is a goal that we want to achieve the UN development goals. So again, let's summarize what happens in the transition zone. It is a goal is towards a sustainable way of living. And this can be achieved on 3 different ways. For example, the economy way. So we need to contribute to the development of perspectives for smaller farms, because if they don't have enough products that they can sell, or not good enough products, then they won't be able to stay in the area and would, for example, leave. Then we want to support the sustainable tourism, for example, with the Zugvogeltage, the migratory bird days. And we also want to promote regional products that come out of the region, so-called Wattenmeerprodukte, bottom sea products. But also the society is very important. We educate sustainable development, for example, using the program Education for Sustainable Development, ESD, using junior rangers, so young people that are educated in the Wadensee. We have biosphere schools, nature kindergartens. We also connect nature and health. And one of the main goals is also to counteract demographic change by image and increasing the quality of life in the area. And of course, we want to conserve regional culture and historical architecture. But the main thing, and one of the most important things, is ecology, because we have a high biodiversity in the area and we want to promote it, especially in the municipalities. For example, they have gardens or industrial parks and so-called EDA areas, which means that they're already there and can easily transformed into areas with higher quality. And we have also cooperation with nature users, for example, fishermen, hunters, and beekeepers. And we want to promote organic agriculture. In the national park area itself, we have 18 visitor centers that you can see here in the yellow circles. And these centers provide information about the Wadensee for guests, and they also organize guided tours. Here, for example, you can see the visitor center that is on the upper right side. So in the northern east part, this is Cuxhaven. And one of the good things is that all of our visitor centers are tested and certified for the accessibility. So this is a brand from the German government. And with this, people can easily see whether they are able to enter the building or not, because it's tested for the accessibility, and this is done on a regular basis. But we also have many partners. You see here the orange dots, and if you sum it up, there are more than 280 national park partners. And these can be companies, could be national park guides, municipalities, schools, national, and also the information center that I named before. And they have different criteria to be partners. One of the most important things is that they identify and engage with the goals of the national park and the biosphere region. And they need to give information and services to the people. And they should also give some impact on the environmental protection. For example, it's on resource conservation, sustainable mobility, and of course, regional business cycles. Then also important is that we check whether there is quality and employee satisfaction and a strong cooperation. So the partners commit to the goals of the national park and the biosphere reserve, and there are also contact persons with regard to the national park, the biosphere reserve, and sustainable business. And here there are also regular recertification processes to check whether the goals are achieved and if the partners can still be named as national partners or not. Here you can see some different images of partner locations. So on the upper left side, you see that each partner can have a nice sign as long as they are partners. And we have different partners coming from farming, gastronomy, accommodation, schools, etc. So this next question is, do we have competent stakeholders? And the clear answer is yes, we have many. And since this year, we also have certified birdwatching guides. And so this is the second step to organize birdwatching events. And with this background, we started in 2009 to organize the so-called Zugvogeltage, the bird migratory days. Here, this is the first ad we had in 2009. And now it's already the 14th Zugvogeltage starting on Saturday, so in 2 days. The Zugvogeltage itself are 9 days in October, and it's a special season of activities in the Wadensee area. We want to demonstrate the significance of the Wadensee area for the migrants and also show the global responsibility we have with the Wadensee itself. And of course, sustainability is very important for us. And the motto is do good things and talk about it. What offers exist during the Zugvogeltage? For example, we have specialist talks. We have excursions by hiking, cycling tours, walk on the mudflats, boat trips and bus tours. We have special birdwatching stations. We have culinary offers. We have exhibitions in arts, music, theaters. We have also offers for children, for example, children's stories. And one for the bird watchers is also a competition, the so-called aviathlon, where the islands and the mainlands compete in the number of birds that they can see within the Zugvogeltage week. Very important is that we check the quality for the offers itself, and also we developed a sustainability checklist where it's easily to check how you can improve your own offer or your event and to make it more sustainable. In total, we have around 250 events in a broad range of offers. Here you can see a map where you can see all the locations within the National Park and Biosphere Reserve, and you can see it's well distributed in the area, so it's highly inclusive. We advertise our events via internet, but also via printed products, as you can here see. And each region, so each island and each mainland region has one individual program where all the different excursions and tours are listed. And of course, we also check that all the products are environmentally friendly produced. And who is involved in the Zugvogeltage? As I said, the Wadensee National Park Authority in the Lower Saxony is responsible for the overall coordination, the planning and implementation of some events, but the main actors are the National Park Visitor Centers and the National Park partners. For example, the touristic institutions and the National Park guides, because they organize and implement the events. And for who are the Zugvogeltage? We say it's for everyone. It's not just for the enthusiasts, it's also for the children, it's for adults, it's for laymen, and of course for the keen birds and naturalists. So it is highly inclusive for everyone. And this is one important step to have a very sustainable birdwatching event. Now I would show you some of the pictures. We have, for example, bird observation towers like the one here that is exclusively built for the Zugvogeltage. And here people can come in contact with experts that do show them the birds and also tell them the stories. Where do the birds come from, why they are here, and why the waddency is so important. We have so-called expert dinners, and this means that there is a talk by an expert, and he combines or she combines it with high quality food in one of the partner restaurants. And of course, we use for mostly seasonal, regional, or fair traded ingredients. Then we have, for example, cycling tours to watch the birds. And this is also important because we want to improve and to foster non-physical transportation, because our area is mainly accessible via cars or by trains. So it is very important that we also show that we can improve our transportation by cycle or by bus, just to avoid that everybody uses his own car. And at the end of the Zugvogeltage, we have a farewell party, and this is like it's a farewell where people can talk to each other, where we have optic products that are presented. We have music, we have theater, we have talks, and this brings all people again together. And this is a very nice event to close the Zugvogeltage at the last day. So the key facts: we have a recurring date, so it's every second Saturday in October, and it marks a special season in the year. At the moment, we have approximately 80 involved stakeholders, and this shows a strong cohesion of the national park and its partners. So we can also already say it's a family. We have more than 20,000 participants each year, and it is also locals and tourists, and 30% of them especially come because of the migratory bird season. One significant thing is that it adds value to the sustainable business and marketing of the national park partners, and it helps to find acceptance and multipliers to foster sustainable development of the Biosphere Reserve and to protect the Bodensee World Heritage Site. And it demonstrates also the core themes of the national park and the Biosphere Reserve. Yeah, and with this, I want to thank you for your attention, and please come by for a visit. More information can be retrieved on zugvogeltage.de. Unfortunately, it's so far in German, but you are also allowed, and please contact me if you would like to have more information. Many thanks, and have a nice evening.
Many thanks, Rune. I call Vanessa and Massimiliano to join us again. I start to do you some easy question, not like the yesterday one, Massimiliano. The first one is, may I ask you to describe us your target profile as birdwatcher? How it is your birdwatcher profile? Who want to start? If you know it.
Chiedi quelli che già vengono o quelli che...
Are you asking about the ones that already come,
Yeah,
or the ones that we hope will come in the future?
In your territory. Where are they from? How old are they? How much they spend? How long are they staying in your Biosphere Reserve?
Noi, Mattia, non abbiamo ancora dati raccolti.
As for us, we still don't have data for this analysis. As I was saying in the presentation, birdwatching over the years has become really compared to what it used to be when I left the Delta Park, so 15 years ago. So it really has changed. We used to make analysis on the type of bird watcher. There was a special attention on this discipline. Now this attention is no more existing, and therefore there is no data, and so we cannot really answer this question in a precise way. For sure, there are not so many bird watchers. Most of them are Italians. The foreigners are just a few of them, and I think that, especially if we think about the potential of the park, well, I think that the number is very small, both from the point of view of the characteristics of the bird watchers and from the point of view of numbers. I mean, they're much fewer than they could be, but they cannot really answer your question in a precise way.
Thanks.
So I can, or Vanessa, you want to start?
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind. You can. I mean, you can start, and I'll go after you.
Okay, many thanks, Vanessa.
No.
So we also have not that many data on our guests that we have during the Zugvogeltage, but most of them are Germans. So this is for sure, most of them are Germans, and they stay for around a week or 2 weeks, because that's the common season where there are holidays in these different states. And it's quite common if you are on the island that you stay for 1 week, for example. And yeah, so some guests come from Switzerland, for example, but it's mainly German-speaking guests.
Well, in the Extremadura case, we have done 2 studies, one in 2011 and another one in 2018, from 2018-2019. Both studies have been funded by the regional government, by the Extremadura Tourist Board, and coordinated by the Birding Club. And data-wise, in 2011, we got the information about the real bird watchers, because we knew more or less the profile, but we needed to prove in reality, you know, and to have data, real data. Like, we interviewed over 2,000 people at Monfrague National Park. I mean, the hottest spots in Extremadura. We did that, and we ran it throughout 1 year. And because in 2011 was a difficult year because of the economic crisis of 2008, we did another one in 2018 to 2019 in order also to know and to study if the promotional events and if we were doing through the last years, it was working, and how we were establishing the new strategies for birding and marketing. So marketing the activity, basically. So our profile, just to to be brief, is the national visitors are increasing. International was in 2011 our main visitor, and now that is changing also. But the international say come from the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium, in that order of importance. Also, the average stay is around 5 nights, using very local services. Many people, a high percentage, also traveling in very small groups. We're talking about in between 4 and 8, 14 people max. Also, a good number of couples, people traveling in couples. Plus, also we learned that the highest, obviously, season was springtime because of the migrants and the resident birds. And that gave us the idea also that we needed to establish more strategies to promote winter birding in Extremadura, because that was something the local companies asked for. So for us, it's been very, very important to have data. 2011 and 2018-19, we got better results and the numbers are increasing. So we know we are more or less doing and going in the right direction. Thank you.
Many thanks. And I follow with you, Vanessa and Rune, and then I go to Massimiliano with the same question, but in different way. With Vanessa and Rune, I would like to know why you started to talk with the birdwatcher. I think you said that you are more or less 10 years you are working hard on bird watching, Vanessa, and also Rune, you said that I don't know, it is 20 years that you have a Zoovogel tag, more or less. Why you see this as a target to work with? There were something that make you think, oh, it is important to work with birdwatcher, or it was just a case?
But thank you, Mattia. Do you mean my personally or professionally?
Professionally, and then personally, if you have some.
No, well, both are together, I mean, professional wise, the regional government of Extremadura decided in 2012 that they wanted to have someone based and focused on wildlife and birding tourism for Extremadura as a region. So basically, me professionally, I watch birds. So I've been very lucky because I've been able to, work. I mean, my hobby is watching birds and wildlife, and I've always been in the countryside. So that's been my personal, experience that was turned into my professional work in 2012. So birding and bird watching in general for Extremadura is a very, very important sector. Very, very important. We talk about local companies, we talk about a very rural area, we talk about population very spread out, and we need to bring and to have companies, local companies together. And the regional government decided to make an extra effort on that. And it's important to mention here, and now after the pandemic times, I'm encouraging the government's public bodies to support the activity and also to work more transversally. I mean, work different authorities, environmental authorities, tourism authorities. We need to work together because it's something that involves many, many sectors and industries, and it's important for all. But it's a matter also of behavior, and in our case, it does depend on the government.
So there is also a high awareness in the government on the theme of wilderness and bird watching, because without this awareness, there will not this type of work done these years.
Yes, and also I'll give you a sample, and a very real one. In the past, when people came to Extremadura to watch birds, it was like a rarity, like a rare activity. People used to say, oh, those people who are interested in birds, what are they looking at? Yeah, and local people being at Monfrague National Park and seeing on that cliff someone watching the Spanish Imperial Eagle of black vultures and griffon vultures for hours. International people mainly, and local people didn't understand what was happening very well. I mean, they were watching birds, but that was something rare. And something that the birding activity has given Extremadura is that people, I think the environmental culture has increased, which is nice, through tourism. So people now know and value and appreciate the birds. And they say, oh, we've got these birds here, you can see that, and you can see that. And that is an effort and efforts coming from different sites and different bodies, but all believing in the developing of wildlife for the region of Extremadura, because we are very rural, as you saw on the slides, very rural areas. So for us, wildlife is our goal.
Many thanks.
So I can continue?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's more or less the same as Vanessa already said, because having so many birds is a gift of nature. And we want to increase the attention of the people that we have such a nice, that we have such a nice amount of birds here. And we also want to demonstrate them the global importance of the migratory flyway. Because if people come here and they see the birds and maybe they say, okay, yeah, it's nice to see them, to see the flocks, looks nice. But if they don't know the story behind it, then there's something missing. And this is what we want to add with the Zugvogeltage, because we want to not to tell the people, but to show the people why the birds are here, why the Waddenzee is so important, and how it's related to the global perspective. Because migratory birds need friends all over the world, because, for example, of the climate change, it changes so many habitats. And if people are not aware of the changes, they cannot help to maintain the situation or to improve it. And this is why we have the Zugvogeltage, to talk to the people, to show them the birds, to show them how it functions, and to tell them the story, how they can help us to protect the nature. And of course, we wanted to extend the season for the tourist part, like in autumn when the weather is already becoming worse. But if you have a special season, then more and more guests come. And what I also said is that we implemented many of our national park partners, because they have a reason there's a reason to show their products. It's a reason to implement them. They can benefit from the Zugvogeltage, and we can benefit from them, just to improve the sustainable birdwatching event. And this is a main goal of our Biosphere Reserve and the national park.
Okay, thanks.
I would also, Mattia, just one sec. I just would like to add something that is important. I think Massimiliano and probably Rune also mentioned it at some point. But for instance, now that we are all talking about global warming and the climate crisis and everything, it's important to mention here that, for instance, when you have a group of people, experts, guides, local guides working on a location, the case of Extremadura, for instance, and I think this is I'm sure it's the same for you in Italy. I mean, first of all, Mediterranean countries, they have a very good opportunity weather-wise up to today to promote winter and autumn birding. And also another important thing is that, and this affects and contributes to conservation and knowledge, is that the guides, for instance, in Extremadura are the ones that are counting the birds. So the guides here, they are very connected to the NGOs, the local NGOs, working on census and monitoring birds. And these guides are the ones who are also taking people out in the field. So I think there is a huge opportunity here to make an activity in a very responsible manner, in a very responsible way, and to trust each other and have people guided in the field in order to minimize the negative impact of tourism and do things properly. And I think wildlife and birding in particular contributes to that very well.
Yeah, we talked about it also in some way yesterday, because bird watching is an example of how conservation and development can work together to reach the same objective. We passed the time of 7 o'clock, so I think that if there are no more questions, I will end the webinar. If you want to add something, Bruno, or Vanessa, or Massimiliano, you can talk, you can speak. Otherwise, I will thank you again. Muchas gracias, Vanessa. Vielen Dank der Runde. And grazie, Massimiliano. Many thanks to the participants who follow us until this time, and see you sometimes somewhere in the Euromap world.
Yeah, many thanks, Mattia. It's a very good idea to organize such a webinar on bird watching. So we should do it again. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Grazie a voi, grazie a tutti.
Grazie.
Thank you very much.